Alex opened their eyes slowly. The light was too bright, piercing. A sterile, white ceiling stared back with cold indifference. This was not their familiar bedroom ceiling. A faint, rhythmic beeping sound filled the otherwise quiet air. Confusion wrapped around Alex like a heavy, damp blanket. Where was this unfamiliar place? How did they arrive here in this strange bed? Panic began to gently bubble beneath the surface of disorientation, a quiet alarm. They tried to sit up, but a wave of dizziness pushed them back down onto the pillow, a silent command to remain still. A doctor entered the room then. Their face was kind, but their words were serious. "You collapsed, Alex," the doctor said softly. "Severe exhaustion, burnout." Alex stared, disbelieving. Burnout? That happened to other people, not to Alex. Alex was strong, resilient, a pillar. "There must be some mistake," Alex managed to say, voice raspy. The doctor simply shook their head gently. The diagnosis was firm. The truth was a bitter pill, hard to swallow. Alex thought of the endless to-do list, the deadlines, the meetings. There was no time for this. Flashes of the past weeks, no, months flooded Alex's mind. The relentless pace of work, the late nights fueled by stale coffee, the skipped meals replaced by a gnawing anxiety in the pit of their stomach, the constant crushing pressure to perform, to excel, to always be available. Alex had become a machine, or so they thought, a machine dedicated to the firm, to the clients, to the endless demands of a high-stakes career. Sleep was a luxury. Rest was a forgotten concept. The body, it seemed, had finally sent a message that could not be ignored. The first coherent thought to pierce the fog was about work. "The Thompson case," Alex murmured. "The quarterly reports are due." An immediate, urgent need to get back surged through them. "They need me. The team can't manage without my input." The idea of being confined to this bed, this room, felt like a betrayal of responsibility. How could the world, their world, possibly continue if they were not there to steer it? The weight of this perceived indispensability felt heavier than any illness. Alex had to get out. Now. Alex tried to push themselves up again, determined, but their limbs felt like lead. The weakness was profound, a shocking betrayal by their own body. The doctor returned, noticing the struggle. "You need to rest, Alex. Truly rest. Your body has nothing left to give right now." Frustration mounted like a tide. This enforced stillness was a torment. Alex was used to being in control, to dictating the pace. Now they were a patient, subject to the quiet rhythms of the hospital, a place where time moved differently, slowly, without regard for pressing legal matters or urgent emails. The self-imposed pressure was a familiar companion. Alex remembered countless times believing that only they could handle a specific client, a complex negotiation, a critical brief. The fear of letting the team down, of a single dropped ball, was immense. The firm relied on Alex, or so Alex had convinced themselves. This belief had become a core part of their identity. It fueled the long hours. It justified the sacrifices. Now, lying in a hospital bed, that identity felt fragile, threatened by this unwelcome pause. The silence of the room amplified the anxious thoughts. The mobile phone, retrieved from a plastic bag with personal belongings, became a lifeline, or so Alex thought. They started making calls, sending emails, trying to manage the Thompson case from the confines of the sterile room. Nurses would gently discourage the activity. "Your most important job right now is to recover," one said with a patient smile. The world outside the hospital walls felt distant, almost unreal. The urgent calls and demanding emails seemed to belong to another life, a life Alex was temporarily barred from. It was a strange, unsettling disconnection. A call came through from Sarah, a senior colleague. Alex braced for a barrage of questions, a list of urgent tasks. Instead, Sarah's voice was calm, concerned. "Just checking in, Alex. How are you feeling?" she asked. Alex was taken aback by the genuine care. Sarah then mentioned, almost casually, "Don't worry about the Thompson case. We've got it covered." The team pulled together. The quarterly reports are also on track. A peculiar mix of relief and a strange, hollow feeling settled over Alex. Covered? Without them? Days began to blur into one another. The initial resistance slowly started to fade. Alex began to accept the reality of the situation, the four walls of the room becoming a temporary, albeit unwelcome, sanctuary. The hospital routine, once an irritant, became a predictable rhythm: medication, meals, the doctor's brief visits, short shuffling walks down the polished corridor. Sleep, deep and restorative, came more easily now. The body, starved of rest for so long, soaked it up like a dry sponge. The endless chatter of work in Alex's head started to quiet down, replaced by a different kind of stillness. Sarah visited in person a few days later. She brought a small bouquet of bright flowers and a few magazines. She spoke about the office. The Thompson case was indeed progressing smoothly. A junior associate had shown unexpected initiative. The quarterly reports had been submitted on time, signed off by another partner. The team, Sarah explained, had redistributed Alex's workload. Everyone had stepped up. There were no catastrophes, no major fires to put out. The office was functioning. This news, delivered gently, landed with significant weight. Alex listened, really listened, perhaps for the first time in a long while. A profound realization began to dawn, slowly, like the sun rising after a long night. The firm hadn't collapsed. The clients weren't all leaving in droves. The intricate machinery of the legal practice continued to whir and click, even with one of its main cogs temporarily removed. The world, their professional world, had not ground to a halt. It simply adjusted. Life, and work, had a remarkable ability to continue, to find new paths, to fill empty spaces. The feeling of being replaceable, once a terrifying prospect, began to feel different. It wasn't crushing. Instead, a strange sense of liberation started to emerge. The immense weight Alex had carried, the belief that everything depended solely on their shoulders, wasn't entirely true. It was a shared load, a collective effort. Alex had chosen to carry more than their share, believing it was necessary. Now they saw it was a choice, not a necessity. The team was capable, the system was resilient, and Alex was indeed replaceable. Physical recovery progressed steadily, if slowly. Each day brought a little more strength, a little less fatigue. Alex started reading books, novels with plots and characters, a far cry from dense legal briefs and case law. They spent time looking out the hospital window, watching the clouds drift by, observing the people walking on the streets below. Life moved at a different tempo out there, a tempo Alex had forgotten existed. The small details, missed in the blur of constant work, began to reappear, vibrant and new. Discharge day finally arrived. Stepping out of the hospital's air-conditioned coolness into the warm May air felt like a rebirth. The city noise, usually a trigger for stress, now sounded different, just the sounds of life happening. The colors seemed brighter, the sky wider. The world felt full of possibilities beyond the confines of an office or a courtroom. The pause, forced and unwelcome as it was, had created a space for reflection, for a recalibration of what truly mattered. The old anxieties still lingered, but they no longer held the same power. Returning to work weeks later was a carefully considered step. It was different. Alex made a conscious effort to delegate more tasks, trusting colleagues to handle them. Breaks were no longer skipped. Lunch was eaten away from the desk. Leaving the office on time became a new, non-negotiable habit. The fear of not being indispensable was gone. In its place was a healthier understanding of teamwork and personal limits. The quality of Alex's work didn't suffer. In fact, with a rested mind, focus and clarity improved. Life, Alex realized, was a far broader brief than the one they had been working on. Health, relationships, and simple moments of peace were paramount. The burnout had been a harsh, painful teacher, but its lessons were invaluable, life-altering. Alex learned that stopping doesn't mean failing. It means acknowledging your humanity. It means choosing to live a fuller, more balanced life. The world could and did go on without Alex working themselves to the bone, and that, Alex finally understood, was perfectly okay.